everybody. My name is Asanobia. Today I'm going to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. What is sexual harassment? It's an unwelcome sexual advancement, request for a sexual favor, and a verbal or a physical or sexual advancement. This is not a proper agreement. There are various reasons which are responsible for this one. I'm going to highlight 3 reasons. Number 1, submission to short a conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term or a condition of an individual or employee or employment. Right? Then number 2, submission to or rejection of short a conduct by an individual is usually as a bias for employment or decisions affecting short an individual. Example, this simply means that sometimes you can be intimidated or sexually harassed. If you reject it, then your superior maybe intend to remove you from that job. It depends on the scenario. Then point number 3, short a conduct has a purpose. That is the sexual harassment. It has a purpose or effect of unreasonable interference with an individual work or performance, creating an intimidate or hostile or offensive in a working environment. This simply means that this issue of sexual harassment can occur in various workplace and environment, and it can lead to hostile or aggressiveness, wherein it affects the working environment. It affects people that are working there, because the victim cannot able to make a decision. At the end of the day, if you don't know the proper channel, people will take advantage of you. And sexual harassment also make the workplace make people not to be able to concentrate in their job because they feel intimidated. Then I'm going to highlight various steps of unwelcome behavior. What is unwelcome behavior in this scenario? Unwelcome behavior is the critical words. Unwelcome does not mean involuntary. A victim may consent or agree to certain conduct and actively participate in it, even though it's offensive and objectionable. Therefore, sexual conduct is on behavior on unwelcome situation or a fact welcoming or a request for dating or sex-oriented commitment or joke, or depends on all circumstances. Sources of this preventing of sexual harassment, according to BN comments in 1992 manual, there are 3 types of sexual harassment, wherein you have the verbal harassment, you have the non-verbal, and the physical harassment. And all of these types of harassment, I'm going to cite example in which people normally harass people. Number 1, I'm going to highlight about 20 points. 1, actually, an attempt on rape or sexual assault. That is number 1. Number 2 is unwanted pressure for sexual favor. Then number 3 is unwanted deliberate touching or living over or pinching someone or conning someone. Right? Then number 4 is sexual looks or gesture. The way you look at for example, if you're a man, the way you look at a lady, it can lead to sexual harassment, the gesture. Then point number 5 is unwanted littering or telephone calls or materials or sexual nature. For example, you calling someone on phone wherein it's not pertaining, relating jobs, Then point number 6 is unwanted pressure for dating. You keep on harassing someone, okay, can we go for dates like this? So that one is also a sexual harassment. Then point number 7 is unwanted sexual joke or remarks or question. Some question also are sexual harassment. For example, if you ask someone, are you married? How many kids do you have? It depends on the scenario. That also is sexual harassment. Then point number 8, talking about referring to an adult as a girl or doll or baby or honey. Yeah, this is also a sexual harassment, like calling somebody name, hey, sweetheart, darling. Those are sexual harassments also. Then point number 9, like whistling at someone or whistling at someone, like doing like this. All of these things are just like is a sexual harassment. Then point number 10, like cat calling. Cat calling simply means that like you do like the meow, like this one. All these are sexual harassment. Then number 11 is sexual comments. This also is sexual harassment. Then point number 12, turning work discussion to sexual topic, right? You are in workplace, you are discussing with how the work can move on, then you change the topic, start asking about family, love, what movie you like something like emotional things. So this also is sexual harassment. Then point number 13, talking about sexual norms or stories, like explaining stories, love stories, when you are at work, explaining love stories to someone, which can be emotional. So this is also a sexual harassment. Then point number 14, asking about sexual fantasy or preference or history, right? Then point number 15, talk about personal question about social or sexual life. You're asking your colleague, what do you like, what this, like that. It's also a sexual harassment. But sexual harassment cannot only be between man and lady. It can also be lady to lady, man to man. It depends, Then point number 16, talk about sexual comments about a person or a cloth or a looks. That is point number 16. Like you say, oh, your cloth is nice, you dress so nicely, you understand. This also is sexual harassment. Then point number 17, talking about like kissing, making a sound of kissing or smacking your teeth, your lips, licking your lips, also is sexual harassment also. Then point number 18, telling lies or spreading rumors about a person or personal person lives, right? Like you saying that this person is like this, you tell a story, you go outside and tell people that this person is my dad, you understand? So that one is also sexual harassment. Then point number 19, like neck massage. So many people have been victims over this certain situation. It's also a sexual harassment. Like you are fond of someone, you just come and start holding his neck while you are speaking to him, doing like massage. This is also a sexual harassment. So if this person intends to take you to court, it's also a sexual harassment. But it also depends on the individual, so we have to be vigilant and watch out. Then point number 20 also talk about touching an employee cloth or ear or body. You are not allowed to touch anyone, right? Or except maybe it's your wife or your girlfriend, or maybe your relatives, but you are not allowed to touch someone. So this one is also a sexual harassment also by touching someone. Then point 21, talking about giving personal gifts to someone. That you didn't even tell somebody that I'm going to give you a gift also. Then you give a gift also, is also sexual harassment. But all of this one depends on the reaction of the opposition or the other party or the other sex. So you have to very be careful. Then point number 24 also talk about touching or rubbing oneself or sexual around another person. Yeah, like moving around someone, going closer. Also, you can also, the person can feel intimidated or feel sexually harassed. You understand? Then point number 25 talking about standing closer or brushing against someone. Then point 26 also talking about looking at a person up and down, like staring at this person, also is sexual harassment, you know. Then like kissing your lips also. Kissing 27, 28 also, like kissing your lips, sucking your lip, like that also is a sexual harassment. So I'm going to talk about some of the terminologies in sexual harassment, some of the terminology. So here, what is sexism? Sexism is the attitude or the character. It is an attitude of a person or one sex that he or she is superior to a person or other sex. For example, a man and a woman who like too much have emotions over his staff or his colleague, you know. So that also is sexism, right? Then you're talking about discrimination, sexual discrimination. Sexual discrimination is the behavior. It occurs when an employee or person based on the employee sexual, or when an employee is treated differently because of his or her sex. Example, if you have a female supervisor, a female manager, you understand. So sexual discrimination occur when the manager, the female manager, always look at the male group, that the male groups, they are supposed to do this one. He always puts the work on a particular male group, rather than putting it on a equity, or like everybody should partake in that one. So that one is also discrimination in terms of colors, in terms of sex, also gender, you know. So I'm going to talk about sexual harassment also. Sexual harassment also is the behavior. In sexual harassment term is the behavior. It's defined as an unwelcome of a sexual nature towards others. For example, a man whistling to a woman who is not your girlfriend, or you just whistle like that, or a customer is coming, or a client, you know. So it's also a sexual harassment. Then we're talking about the term of subtitle sexual harassment is the behavior, but not legally term. It is also unwelcome behavior of a sexual nature that is allowing to continue, could create a qua pro qua and hustling work environment for a recipient. Example, unwelcome sexual comments like jokes. You know, you tell us, you are nice, you are this or that. This is also a sexual harassment. The term is called subtitle sexual harassment. Then talking about another term which say qua pro qua harassment. It is also when an employment decision for employee are based on employer acceptance or rejection. For instance, like when the employee, the superior, want to have dating with his subordinate, then his subordinate rejecting that, no, you are my boss, I don't want to date you, then the boss can fire this person. So it's called quas pro qua. Then another one talk about the hostile working environment. Hostile working environment is a working environment created by and unwelcome sexual behavior or a behavior directly at the employee. Because of that, employee sex that is offensive, hostile and intimidating, and that adverse affects the employee ability to do his job. For example, persuasive, unwelcome sexual comments or jokes. Doing jokes like you as the boss, you always calling names, oh, darling, oh, you just praising someone in the wrong time also is also sexual harassment. So to conceptualize all this topic, in sexual harassment, it's a two-way trend. You have to very be careful in your workplace. The way you look at person, there are three types of sexual harassment. You have the verbal harassment, you have the non-verbal, and you also have the physical, right? Like the verbal is wherein you use words, and the non-verbal is like a sign or action, a signs, right? Then the physical is wherein you touch someone, you pinching someone, you understand? So these are the way wherein someone can sexually harass someone. So you have to be careful in a workplace or environment how you treat one another, especially it depends whether if you are at work or a formal situation, you have to treat people in a formal way. So I stop here, and my next topic I will talk about in the law of the Geneva Convention.